And it is great to have you with us on the starting lineup, and welcome back. Starting lineups brought to you by Play It Again Sports in the Fremont Shopping Center, Battlefield in Fremont, Springfield, Swing Right Golf at the south end of Campbell Avenue, a little bit north of Nixa, Citizens Bank of Rogersville with two locales, one adjacent to Highland Springs and the other in Rogersville itself, and Marshfield Chevrolet at the I-44 exit, couple of left turns, and you're on the north side of I-44, and you are driving right into Marshfield Chevrolet. Great to have you with us. I'm Ned Reynolds, along with
Scott Purrier.
And a special guest.
Special guest is our good friend, longtime friend, Michelle Boswell. We call her the Boz down here in these parts, but she's been basically having a second life in Kansas City the last few weeks with volunteering for the World Cup matches up there. Of course, she and her mom, Carol, and her son, Chase, have a very popular podcast called My Mom Calls It Soccer. And Michelle, I looked just now, and you're up over 21,000 subscribers now on My Mom Calls It Soccer. The humble beginnings of this were about a year and a half ago, maybe? How many? Yeah.
Yes. Yep. So February of 25, I guess.
And so when you walk around, are you like Patrick Mahomes around these World Cup people? Hey, there's the lady from My Mom Calls It Soccer. Go get her. And you're posing for pictures?
I'm wearing a very prominent volunteer jacket, and they're like, hey, there's that lady that can help us find whatever we can't find. So.
You've got to be just thrilled with the way this thing has taken off, though. And what better timing could there be than World Cup coming to the U.S. and you launch an informational podcast and an entertaining podcast at that. I mean, were there milestones you remember hitting, like our first 1,000, our first 5,000, things like that?
Yeah, some of that. Probably the biggest thing I remember was when we booked our first external guest, somebody that, we didn't know, and it was a gentleman who was traveling to all of the Premier League stadiums in England. And so just kind of taking that leap of, instead of us talking about things, bringing on other folks to talk. And it's just taken off from there. And we've met so many people and who want to be a part and help us along this journey and help new fans learn about the game.
Michelle, on the podcast itself, is there any way of judging locale? For instance, are many of the contributors people who are listening from another country?
We do have people from another country, and it's interesting. It kind of varies depending on what they're watching us on. So definitely YouTube seems to have more of an international following than maybe Spotify or Apple, but also TikTok. We're on all social media, and our TikTok followers, we have a wide variety of followers and people from other countries as well as the United States. And that has been really a great thing, getting people from TikTok who want to interview with us. We put out a call leading up to the World Cup. We wanted to interview people who had a connection or were from some of the countries that were going to be in the World Cup. And we had great response to that, mainly people who live in the U.S., but were from those countries. And so that's been great and added a whole other layer that I don't think we would have ever predicted.
For those who might not have listened to it, about how long do each of your presentations last?
So on YouTube, full length, we're usually about 30 minutes, 30 to 45. Then we do a lot of short form content that we also put on YouTube, but also on all of our socials. So like some of the things we do, we do a Wait, That's a Rule segment where we have Nick and Emily who come on and break down different laws of soccer. They're called laws, not rules. And different things like that we can do in short form in small pieces that people can watch to help them pick up the game. But then we do the long form podcast as well.
Well, you spent a lot of time in Kansas City. You've either been as a fan or worked every match at Kansas City Stadium, correct?
That's correct.
And we went through together the Drury run to the national title in Atlanta in 2013, which is such a special experience that I can literally recall every game and every detail here 12 years later, 13 years later. Is the World Cup becoming that for you, with you and your mom and your son, in terms of just the atmosphere and things that 15 years from now you'll never forget?
Definitely. I'll never forget this experience. Being in proximity to the teams, the players, it is amazing to me I mean, we did a national championship run and all of the hours and things that went into doing that. And then you think about the Super Bowl or things, big events like that, and how much goes into that. This is going on in cities across North America multiple times. And the number of staff and volunteers and coordination and logistics people that it takes to pull this off for every match that's held in Kansas City. And then, at every match that's held in every other stadium is, it's amazing. It's an amazing amount of work and coordination that goes into it. And the experience has been phenomenal. But
nothing has gotten the media coverage like that Netherlands parade. That was had to be something.
So, yes. And I was, my Carol and Brad Oliver, who are good friends of mine and Scott's, and they had tickets to that game. I was working the game. So we met for the parade and actually participated in it. And it's on my social media, or on my mom calls it soccer. You can go out and look, but we were in the parade. We went and watched and waited. They had 2 buses that they have shipped over that I believe I heard they had to bring them in through Texas and actually license them. So they have Texas license plates. And so those buses were in the parade, all of the Netherlands fans, all of the Kansas City supporters who wanted to be a part of it. And so we waited for the parade to catch up to us. We watched part of it, and then we jumped in and did it. And we did the whole dance thing that they do. And an amazing experience. I mean, just so much fun, and so much fun to see all of their fans.
Who is your favorite fan base so far, the matches you've been to in KC?
So the Argentina fan base is extremely passionate. They are very into it, extremely passionate. The Netherlands fan base, very fun. They're having a great time. But honestly, every team's fan base has been so much fun to connect with. Curacao did not have a ton of supporters there, but they had supporters, and the supporters they had were extremely passionate. Ecuador, tons that showed up. And the Algeria-Austria game that just happened, that was a phenomenal game, went down to the very end in extra time, and both of those fan bases were just amazing.
Michelle, in dealing with the various countries and so forth, has there been a language barrier problem at all?
So there is a little bit, and I'll tell you the most interesting part of it. I've dealt with photographers, and you figure it out. They are used to having to ask for what they need and figuring out ways to do it. But when I left after the game, the Algeria-Austria game, somehow a lot of the Algerian fans had come out of the wrong gate. So they had come into what was basically where the volunteers park. And so they were asking for help. So we park in lot D, and they were all parked in lot N. And to me, I was like, oh, well, you're in D. You're going to have to go all the way around to N. And I, after the fact, had the thought, I don't know what their alphabet is. So, while it makes sense to us, that how it would progress, I thought, I get it. They weren't understanding. So, and I had the volunteer gear on. They thought maybe this girl can help us. And I was not much help to them. So
you might talk about it for those who missed your interview with us a couple weeks ago. The volunteer role you serve in, or roles, and what was the process, the screening process for volunteers that you had to go through just to get in this position you're in?
So I'm volunteering with the media. So that can consist of being in the media center, which is where photographers come to get their bibs. Journalists can come in and work. There's tons and tons of desks in there that they can hook up and work at. You can be in the press box helping journalists who are up there. There's a press tribunal that's it kind of in the upper deck, but outside, or being on the pitch with the photographers and being a photo marshal, which is really kind of wrangling photographers and making sure that they don't do things that they're not supposed to do. There are rules about what they can do. And that's been one of the greatest things, is doing that role or going down and helping pregame, because you get to be right there on the pitch with the opening ceremony and everything that's going on, but you're basically containing the photographers so that they don't overstep where they're supposed to be. I started the process to become a volunteer. I think the application was last August. And there were a couple of interviews, training. It was a whole process to get to the point. I think in March, I finally found out that I had a position.
Michelle, in the recent Algeria match over the weekend, it ended, ended in a tie 2-2. It had a direct effect on the Iranian team that was here, knocked them out of the competition. Was there any media response to that? Were you affected in any way?
So I wasn't. It actually ended 3-3. It was 2-2 coming down until the end. And then in extra time, which that's one of the things that we do is try to help people understand the whole extra, the clock is weird in soccer, right? Because it counts up and then, they don't stop it for timeouts. Right. And then all of a sudden there's extra time. So for me, I always find it interesting when they score in extra time. And so with that game, Algeria scored in extra time and you thought they're going to win it. And then in the very latest moment, Austria scored to make it to tie. One of the things I thought was interesting about that was really that I heard a lot of talk in the media that it was not to their benefit. A lot of talk about, well, nobody wants to win this game because it's going to mean that their matchup in the round of 32 is harder. And I get that, but also the team that didn't win had one of those teams won. The team that didn't win would have ended in third place and might have not had a chance to even advance. So there was a whole lot going on, and I'm sure I did not get to participate in the post-game press conference with that. I did with the Netherlands. So I'm not sure if there were any questions about that in terms of with Iran or with the teams that did get displaced because of that.
Well, I'm looking at SeatGeek on the secondary ticket market. I was just curious about ticket prices. And the Colombia and Ghana match you have this Friday, bottom ticket price is $1,200, basically.
Yeah. So
you ought to look into selling your media volunteer pass to that and maybe make a couple grand to pay for this excursion you've been on. But wanted to ask you, and take us back again. We talked a little bit about this when we had you on the first time, but what was the impetus for My Mom Calls It Soccer? Because you and your son, your youngest son, who your other sons weren't soccer players, I don't think. I remember my son and Lane may have played briefly together at one point.
Yes.
But talk about why and your how and why on this with your mom and your son to create a soccer podcast for idiots, basically.
Yeah, well, for people like me.
Yeah, and me and Ned.
Yeah. So basically, Chase was just very into the research side of it in terms of what is happening in the leagues, what players are doing, statistics, how things work. And he just always was talking about it, and he was so knowledgeable about it. And he was always just trying to get me on board. He really wanted me to be interested and to watch with him. And for me, coming on, if you have not grown up in that world, it's a little bit overwhelming. There is so much going on. There are leagues, then there's European football that, where all the leagues play against each other. You have international play. And so it was just a lot for me. And Chase did an amazing job of helping me understand that. And I just thought there have to be other people out there like me who are sports fans, who like sports, who just haven't had access to understand or a gateway to get into enjoying soccer. One of the things that I find interesting is I will sometimes on our social media, we will hear from people who, are very dismissive of soccer because they love American football or they, whatever it is. I love American football. My thing is I love all sports really. And so being able to add another sport, something else to watch and follow and be passionate about was interesting to me. I just needed a way to be able to know how to access it and have someone that I could ask the dumb questions to. When I have friends who are learning about American football, I love that. I'm happy to explain things. I'm happy to bring them along. And so Chase has done that for me, and I just felt we can do that for other people.
Michelle, on the subject of access, we'll talk about physical access now. Most of the crowds have been up around 70,000 or so forth and so on. Has the departure from Arrowhead been about what it normally is for a Chiefs game, or is it better or worse?
It's probably very similar to what a Chiefs game normally is what I would say. When we left the Argentina game as fans, it took us probably an hour to get out, just to get all the way out. The biggest difference, I will tell you, and I don't know if it's been this way from other matches, but kind of leaving the Argentina game, when we finally got out of all of the stadium roads and were on an actual road, it was 2 lanes, and the entire right lane we could not drive down because it was all Argentina fans walking. And so they had a lot of fans who had walked a significant distance. And I think that is a difference. In the United States, we don't walk a lot of places, but in Europe and then, in South American countries, it's a lot more normal. So they were walking quite a distance to get back to wherever they were staying. And I mean, a lot of people. It was a significant amount.
We had Jack Jewsbury on a couple weeks ago talking about the impact on Kansas City. He lives over on the Kansas side, and said power and light has just been a thing to behold down there with these international fans that maybe couldn't afford to get a ticket into the actual stadium, but wanted to watch it with other fans of their country. Have you seen that and heard that buzz around Kansas City even still now, or is it continuing to grow?
Yeah, you kind of see this move in and out of fan bases depending on who's playing. And I think Kansas City has done an amazing job of hosting all of our friends from different countries. And it's a fun thing to see. I have not been to Fan Fest yet in Kansas City. But Emily and Nick, who are contributors on the podcast, went to watch a match because they show all of the matches on large screens at FanFest. So you can go there. It's free. And you can go in and experience all of that and then watch the matches there. And I think they've had huge turnout of fans, even like huge turnout of Mexico fans who would come to watch the Mexico game, which is not taking place in Kansas City. And I'm sure that's happening all across the country at these Fan Fest events where people will show up. And here, if you're here in Springfield and you want to come out and watch any match, you should go to Mumbles on Commercial Street. They have every match on, and it's just so much more fun to watch with other people.
I imagine Wednesday night will be a good crowd down at Mumbles when the USA plays again there too. Well, we're going to save your stories we'll have you on after all this is over, but we want 2 or 3 really good stories. Can you tease us with one right now, maybe that you'll always remember, something that humorous or just will stick in your mind?
So I would say probably working as I got to work the ropes with the photographers this last game with the Algeria. And there is a very exuberant, fun Algerian photographer. He's very noticeable. And we had a fun little interaction down there where I'm supposed to be wrangling photographers and keeping them doing what they wanted. And I might have ended up photobombing one of his photos.
Very good. Michelle, appreciate your time. Have fun with this. And let's wrap it up when you're all done and tell some of those great stories, okay?
That sounds great. Thank you, guys.
You bet.
Michelle Boswell visiting with us from up at the World Cup in Kansas City. Timeout on the starting lineup. Be right back.
Back to the starting lineup with Scott Purrier, Ned Reynolds, and Art Haynes on your home for the St. Louis Blues. 102.1 The One.
And delighted to have you with us on the starting lineup. Continue with what we have now for the rest of the show.
Yeah, Art Haynes is going to join us after this next segment. We'll touch base with Art here at 8:30 on his trip to North Carolina, and he is there to receive the Missouri Broadcaster of the Year Award for 2025. Of course, Art retired from the play-by-play duties of the Bears. The SMU game was wasn't it? September?
The last game he did.
Yeah.
Last game he did was Arkansas.
Well, I know he did the Bear
football Arkansas game.
Yeah, but when SMU came here.
Oh, he did that one.
Yeah,
yes, he did
his alma mater coming in, and they had a nice little ceremony down on a sweltering 95-degree day down on the turf there. But, so Art will be joining us soon. And we want your thoughts. We got some time. If you got a call, you got thoughts, you want to give us a call, 417-447-1021. That is also our text line number 2. We've not done a great job about promoting the text line and monitoring the text line. So it's summertime. Your thoughts are wanted there.
Going back to that brings back some memories because probably you do know, Scott, because I stand down there on the sidelines with them just a little bit opposite from where you are. And that day, I'm a big fan of warm weather. I love the warm weather. It was better than warm weather, and I don't mean that in a positive sense. Standing there under that sun, I'm thinking to myself, how in the world are these players getting out there and going through all that they do on the football field in heavy equipment, and it's so blasted hot. And I think it may have been Coach Woods, but one of them said, hey, they're all 18, 19, 20 years old, too, 21 years old. That makes a big difference because I wilted. I had to go sit down and hydrate.
Well, I want to thank the fans or the people of Will Fisher, because I would get very parched and feel like I was dehydration. And all I do is turn around in that Bud Light zone and take about 10 steps, and there was
that does help, doesn't it?
Liquid refreshment there as well. But I believe the playoff is underway, and it may already be over.
Started at 8
a.m.
o'clock.
our time, yeah. And let's see, I think Hovland won. Yeah, Hovland beat Scottie in the must have birdied the first hole.
Scottie's drive go off the fairway or something like
Looks
that.
like Viktor made about an 8-foot putt for his 8th PGA Tour win. Both of them had good looks at birdie, and it looks like Viktor made his and Scottie didn't. So Viktor Hovland wins the Travelers Championship, and
that's worth about $4 million.
Yeah, $20 million elevated purse, and talking to friends of mine that are golfers, this 2028 move to the Champions and the Challengers, Championship and Challengers, different series on the PGA Tour. I don't know who's going to watch the Challenger Series.
How many $20 million purses will be in the Elite Tour?
About every one of them. Everyone will be at least $20 million, which means you're going to have, and the other thing now is that if you don't play those events and you sit out, not only are you missing out on a big payday, but you may fall further down in the standings. And if you fall further in the standings, you may end up being relegated to the Challenger Tour.
Well, I think Rory McIlroy said it best when he said the Challenger Tour is a glorified minor league tour. It's a AAA probably, as opposed to Korn Ferry, which still exists, but that's more of a AA than anything else. But the fact of the matter remains, who will watch it, and where will the games be televised? I think PGA probably took this well into consideration because, after all, those televised matches mean a lot, not only from publicity, but from monetary take as well. The Travelers, for instance, that didn't used to be a signature event. It is now, and probably will continue to be. It's a big deal. It started the FedEx Tour, and that ends up in a very, very big deal at Eastlake, and apparently that's going to be moved as well.
Yeah, and they'll have match play in it as well, which will be a new, a fun format.
I like it. I like the match play.
Yeah, I do too, because it kind of mirrors the Ryder Cup and what you see in a lot of those head-to-head things there. I don't like it like in the team events in New Orleans and things like that. It needs to be saved for big, big events like that, but you kind of think now that this is our first summer with no Price Cutter Charity Championship. The Korn Ferry Tour did not come back. Highland Springs membership was okay with not having it here. After 35 years, or I guess it'd be 35. Yeah, 1990 was the first one.
1990.
Maybe it's not such a bad thing, because how much would that event have diminished in terms of importance? Because now you're going to have good Korn Ferry guys, but they're going to go eventually to the Challenger Tour, and you're still not just going to hear just a ton about them. Whereas before, Korn Ferry guy like the Pearson Cootie, and went out there and he's challenging for victories out on the PGA Tour, the big tour, and that was the only tour we had from there.
Interesting to see on this Challenger Tour who the sponsors are. And maybe the PGA already has them lined up. That could be, but there hasn't been any release of public names. Is any company going to sponsor them? Here's Korn Ferry, and it's already sponsoring the lower tour as such. But you make a very good point. I'm going to take you back to history a little bit. Steve Haskins was one of the golfers in that very first ever. Who was his caddy?
Was it Spoon?
Spoon.
Yeah, Charlie Spooner. Yeah, I was just trying to think who. I think Jeff Cook won the first ever.
He did. Jeff Cook did win.
And that was Ben Hogan first, right?
Correct.
It'd be a great trivia question. Name all the sponsors of the event here.
God. Buy.com.
Yeah, Nike. Ben Hogan, Buy.com, Korn Ferry.
There's one more in there.
Was Nationwide? Or no, that was a different deal, wasn't it? I'm trying to think of the other one, but Jeff Cook won the first one, I believe, in a playoff with Olin Brown. If you
could have been,
that.
could very well have been, yes.
And we've not just been completely blessed with having our guys here go on to be PGA Tour stars, but some of those guys were guys you heard about for a little bit out there for bits and pieces.
I see a commercial being done by Lehman. Now it's something for retirees, and he was one of the winners down here long time ago.
Bubba Watson played here. I remember that.
And didn't you play with him?
I did, yeah. He made fun of my brush tee that I was using then. And I said, you have a pink driver shaft. Why would you be making fun of anything I have? But, and it's kind of like the Epson Tour. I didn't even know the Epson Tour existed until Reagan Zabilski got on it. And now I'm every weekend, it's kind of like when Payne played. Because we've had Reagan on since high school and just a great interview and a great kid. I want to see how she's doing out there each week, so I automatically go to the Epson Tour website on weekends and see where she is.
Well, I fall into the same category, except in a different level. I didn't know there was an Asian Tour until Payne Stewart played it.
Yeah. And so that's what, unfortunately, I think the Korn Ferry is going to become is, unless you know somebody out there, it's probably going to fade well into the background, the Challenger being the number 2, and then, of course, the championship level of the PGA Tour taking center stage. And, of course, that's why they're talking major market cities, for these new events, because they want all the glitz and glamour to be on the best of the best.
All right, prediction from you. This is simply subjective on your part. Do we see another tournament back here?
No, I don't think so.
Even down in Branson?
Maybe a Champions Tour type event, something that's not 72 holes probably, and I don't know. The thing with Johnny's courses, they're fabulous. You have to have an event where carts are allowed, because some of those courses down there they're not conducive to, especially older golfers walking for 3 or 4 days.
Tiger would have some problems.
Tiger would have some issues with his body and all the things it's been through and trying to walk down there, but that's what the Champions Tour does. And it's interesting talking to Scott Hovis last week. The Missouri Amateur went to carts during match play, and that was a great move because it was becoming a flat bellies college golfer championship, and now you had a 33-year-old guy who's not old, but he's older than most of the college kids.
Matter of fact, looking at the podcast on that, I didn't know they had carts on this tour, and there they were.
Yeah.
And it was simply for that final round, though.
I mean, that's golf now. We're members at Fremont Hills. We got friends everywhere else. Somebody comes out walking, carrying their bag in June, July, or August, you've got 911 on standby. Usually because
hey, wait a minute, I mowed my lawn yesterday. I didn't have 911.
No. Well, and I just think back to those Price Cutter Cherry Championships in August a couple times. And we got our typical August heat and humidity at Highland Springs, and caddies were dropping like flies, and players were reaching over to throw up and stuff. It was bad. And so to answer your question, I don't think we do, but you never know. Johnny may say, hey, you know what? I kind of miss having a marquee golf event. Of course, now they've got that internet championship that they do, but where all the influencers come in, but it wasn't open to the public. So,
but the Champions Tour that they did have down at Top of the Rock, I thought was absolutely great.
It was, and it was fun, and especially now that we don't have anything, maybe there's an opening for something like that.
Never know.
Forward. Yep. Let's
take
a
time out.
Yep.
All right, quick time out on the starting lineup, and we'll be back with Art in just a split second. And it is great to have you with us on the starting lineup, brought to you by Play It Again Sports, by Swing Right Golf, by Marshfield Chevrolet, and by Citizens Bank of Rogersville. Ned Reynolds along with
Scott Purrier and
Art Haynes.
Live from Greensboro, North Carolina, where Art Haynes is receiving the Missouri Broadcaster of the Year Award for 2025 tonight. By the way, again, congrats, Art, and kind of talk about your trip out there. Has it been a good one so far?
It has. The second day was kind of a long day from Nashville to Greensboro, but we've enjoyed our time here so far. Last night they had a welcome reception, which we attended, and very nice. Ran into a few people, of course, Chuck Cooperstein, my buddy, the voice of the Mavericks, with whom I worked in Dallas. We had a nice visit with him. He's just there as a spectator. He's won it before in Texas, but he said it's so much fun, he just likes to come back.
Along those lines, Art, how many individual state awards are there to be presented?
Well, 50 sports writers and 50 sportscasters.
It is all states. Okay.
Yeah, of whom I think they said about 57 of the 100 would be there. So pretty good representation. And then the national sportscaster of the year is going to be Sean McDonough, fresh off calling the Stanley Cup Finals and very versatile announcer for a long time. James Brown will be among the inductees in the Hall of Fame. He won't be here, but it'll be on video, his acceptance. And sports writers as well. Blair Kirchhoff, who's been on the show from the Kansas City Star, is the Missouri sports writer. And look forward to hooking up with him tonight. Mike Kennedy from Kansas, I guess, like me, he won one on the way out because he's retiring also. He'll be here. So, yeah, it's kind of old home week.
You know, I'm looking at the list of past winners, and this is the National Sports Media Association, NSMA, and looking at their website, the first broadcaster of the award winner in 1959 was Mr. Harry Caray. Joe Garagiola won it the next 2 years after Harry won the first two. And then Jack Buck started a string of about 20 victories in 25 years there.
Justifiably.
Exactly. And so you're joining a pretty elite group, including Mike Shannon in 2014. So,
wow.
Mike Kelly's won it about 7 or 8 times, but I mean, you look at that and it's kind of a who's who of broadcasting in the state of Missouri. So
you mentioned Mitch Holtis is in there too.
Mitch Holtis won it in 2020. Yeah, so I mean, it's Art. It's a great honor, and again, congratulations.
Well, thanks. The fact that it's voted on by my sportscasting peers in the state really make it special.
The 2024 Sports Writer of the Year, by the way, was none other than Rob Raines, our good friend out of St. Louis, and now you can find all his content here on the 1021 The One website as well.
Arthur, what will the ceremony consist of as far as your individual presentation is concerned?
Well, first of all, they've got these sessions throughout the day. Many of them are kind of geared at young broadcasters starting out, but I'm going to sit in on the one at 2:30 with Jeff Brantley and Bob Carpenter talking about working as a team on play-by-play. And at 3:30 will be Sean McDonough and Adrian Wojnarowski from ESPN. So I want to hear what they have to say. Then at 5 o'clock, there's a reception. Banquet starts at 6. Pretty early on, and these are Eastern times. About 6:20, they're going to trot out the 50 of us, or how many sportscasters, alphabetically by state, just kind of marches across the stage. And that'll be the extent for my involvement. Then we'll just sit back and enjoy the program.
Is Bob Carpenter still doing the Washington Nationals?
I think he is.
Please tell him we hollered at him. You know, buddy.
I will. I sure will.
I'm looking at the list of Sports Writer winners. We mentioned Rob Raines in 24. And the Sports Writer Awards go back to 59 as well, when Bob Burns won the first two.
Yeah.
But it's interesting to me that Bernie Miklasz won one time. That's it, one time.
Wow.
And
wow.
You know, Rick Hummel, I see a couple times, Vahe Gregorian, Mike Eisenbath, friend of mine that covered the high schools back in the day. Kevin Horrigan, remember his reign of terror back in the 80s. I did notice that I don't see Jason Whitlock on here anywhere. There's a shock. You know? No, I'm kidding about that. But, I mean, it really is, when you look at both lists, a who's who of sports writers and sportscasters, as it should be in the state of Missouri. I kind of want to look at this at some of the other states, too, like Arkansas, where we know some of those writers. And I'm sure Wally Hall probably won the sports writer a few times until he made people mad down there. Phil Elson is the sportscaster for 25. You said you ran into him?
I ran into him and his parents last night. His parents live in Pittsburgh. And, ran into Phil. He's, I think, won Arkansas multiple times.
Well, kind of looking at the weekend that was in sports, a lot of, World Cup, some obviously Cardinals and Royals baseball. One of the big local stories was the news that Chase Branham is going to forego his senior year at Rogersville to go play for La Lumiere Academy in LaPorte, Indiana. What are your initial thoughts on that?
I just hate to hear that. I mean, I understand kids bettering themselves, and it's probably good for him. But that'll be a prestigious situation, kind of glorified AAU ball for a year. But I guess good for him. But I hate to see the local schools lose players like that they've developed.
Aren't we speculated, Scott and I did, earlier when that announcement was made, that this is probably, without having any definitive proof, probably a suggestion from Indiana University that he upgrade his scale of basketball. Would you agree with that?
And the one that they chose in Indiana.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's very, very evident.
Probably a little bit like when DVH and Norm DeBrine were sending guys to Crowder, and I'm sure that Indiana's probably got a great connection with La Lumiere. And I was talking with a buddy about it that, down here in our area, not only is the competition not going to be obviously what he'll see in that EYBL with Link and IMG and those people, but also they're 7 hours away from Chase Branham in Bloomington, Indiana, to Springfield, Missouri area. Coach Cal's about an hour and a half away. Bill Self's about 2.5, 3 hours away. Those guys, like last year, I remember seeing Coach Cal sitting on the sidelines there to watch Jordan Smith Jr., their recruit that they wound up getting. But, Chase Branham catches his eye, and all of a sudden he's only a couple hours away or a 30-minute flight. I'm sure this is probably a little bit of Indiana protecting their goods, too.
Yeah. Hadn't thought of that, but that is exactly right.
Yeah, and we talked about, for those who wonder, well, gosh, is that going to kill Rogersville? No. John Schaefer's still the coach. Titus Moore will be a junior. Jack Sutherland will be a junior. Other good young kids they had stepped up and contributed. They'll get bigger roles now.
Thank goodness they won the state title, though, with him there.
Yeah. That was good. And Ned, would you agree there's probably a little bit of that? There's nowhere else to go but down.
In a sense, that's right. But by the same token, he won't. He's still a kid, and he's a great player. His team might, who knows? You just don't know about circumstances like that. But at least here, he's under as you guys just pointed out, under the watchful eye of the Hoosiers, number one, and number two, playing an upscale level of basketball. Probably not to the greatest degree that you might think, but still a national scale, and one that will take him on the road and get him accustomed to playing against that tough level.
Well, and you step in and play in the Big Ten as a freshman, you better be ready. And that's what I think this will do. This will make him better equipped to handle those early on games in the Big Ten.
Yeah, you're all right. The more I think about it, it's certainly what's best for the kid in his development going forward. So good move for him.
Now, Arthur, I don't want to bring up a negativity at all, but you're on the road and you see your team getting waxed 22-1 or whatever the final score was. What went through Art Haynes' head at that time?
Well, where's Kolick? He was supposed to start and learned he was on paternity leave. So again, this bum they called up from Omaha starts and gives up 8 runs or whatever. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was brutal. But yesterday they had a nice win. They
did.
Put up 5 runs, and the bullpen made them hold up.
Art, I went over to the Springfield Cardinals Friday night, mostly because I wanted to see Liam Doyle pitch in person and get my eyes on Rodriguez, the catcher. And I got to tell you, I sat where I could see the scoreboard and see stats and everything else. Northwest Arkansas is in town. One team, the Springfield Cardinals, has hot prospect after hot prospect, and I just didn't see a lot out of the Naturals and what they put on the field that day.
Yeah, I think it's thin at that level. They've produced some big leaguers in recent years, but haven't really had anything behind them, at least not yet.
And not much at AAA either, I guess, to call up and help.
Certainly not pitchers.
Not when he gives up 8 runs in the first inning.
You got to love what Carter Jensen's doing right now, though, because guys are falling by the wayside all around him. All the stars that were supposed to be there, either age or injury or aches and pains. And here's Carter Jensen, just continues to rake right now. 19-game hitting streak, which is a rookie record for the Royals.
Yeah, he was hitting for power early. Now he's hitting for power and average. Still not a very good catcher, but offensively, he's a linchpin. But they got Bobby back now, but still without Garcia, and of course Vinny probably till the 1st of August. So injuries have taken a big toll on the Royals, but Jensen has been a bright spot, and Kaggs.
Artur, I put the Chicago White Sox on kind of the same scale as the Cardinals. Great overachievers in the first half. Big questions about the second half. What are your thoughts on the White Sox? Can they hold on?
Well, I think so. It's such a low bar in that division.
Yes.
About in the AL West, if you're 500, you're in first place. And the AL Central, I think they're 4 games over. What I've seen of them, they're legit. I think I don't think they're a World Series contender, but certainly to win the division.
About a month from now, who are the trade chips for the Royals? Because if you've got to replenish that AA roster and AAA, who are the guys the Royals might deal if they're indeed out of contention, which it looks like they will be, to maybe get some prospects back?
Well, Lugo and Waka are the obvious candidates. Now, they're both older, so don't know how much trade value they'll have, but they're serviceable starting pitchers. Other than that, mostly young guys they're not going to want to get rid of. They can't get a bag of baseballs for Isaac Collins, probably. So I think it would be those 2 veteran starters.
Way to go, Ned.
You're too kind, man.
I mean, here Art is in Greensboro, North Carolina, is one shining moment playing in the background, getting the award tonight, and you bring up the Royals.
You're wearing Royals colors here.
Yeah, and we've just ruined his day. Now he'll spend the rest of the day trying to recuperate from talking about the Royals. What does the day hold for you during the day today?
Oh, we're going to hang around here for a while at the hotel, have some breakfast in a bit, and I'll head on over there about 2 o'clock.
How far are you away from the hotel from the arena?
About 15 minutes from the it's the Grandover Hotel and Resort, and it kind of looks like the Chateau on the outside. It's inside. It's not an atrium or anything, but very nice hotel. 2 18-hole golf courses, of which Chuck Cooperstein has availed himself. He said he got in Saturday night and played again yesterday. So it's an idyllic setting there, kind of on a hill outside Greensboro.
Art, I know you're a foodie like myself and not Ned. On a trip out there and back, any good stops or any plans on the way home to have places you can tell us about how good they were?
Well, Calhoun's by the river in Knoxville is awesome. We stopped there for lunch on the way out. It's right on the Tennessee River, and that's a great spot. So that I recommend that. And here in town, we've had some good food at a couple of places. Went to a strawberry breakfast cafe yesterday. Had crab Benedict and cheese grits. I mean,
holy smokes!
That was really good.
That sounds nothing short of outstanding. This is Dixie cooking that you're getting down there.
Well, yeah, we're in Dixie.
Well, and I got to ask you because I don't know which way you're coming home, but I remember going through Nashville one time. We took that route through Poplar Bluff and Cape, I think, and cut that way. And we stopped in Dexter at the Hickory Log.
And we did too.
Yeah. And have you been there recently? Because those might have been the best ribs I've ever had.
We stopped there Thursday on the way out on the first day, and then Nashville the second day, or Knoxville. So, yeah, Hickory Log right on the list every time.
Yeah. And still as good as ever?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
All righty. Well, bring us back a rack, if you will, and we'll eat those together.
And after the ceremony, Art, when do you plan on coming back?
We'll start back tomorrow.
Okay.
Very good. Well, have a safe trip. Again, enjoy the moment tonight. Well deserved, and have a great time.
Okay. Thanks, guys.
You bet.
Art Haynes visiting with us from Greensboro, North Carolina, recipient of the Missouri Broadcaster of the Year Award. Timeout on the starting lineup. Be right back. And we are in the stretch run of the starting lineup, and great having you with us on this Monday. Ned Reynolds along with
Scott Purrier.
Did you check the the text. Do we have any texts at all?
Yeah, we've had a couple here. You had the question I brought up there with Art. How many Missouri Broadcaster of the Awards has Art won in total? This is his first. Mm-hmm. And again, if you want to squeeze in a text, 417-447-1021. Curious on the public reaction to the Chase Branham news, because I got a lot personally yesterday and wanted to see what the public thought. Then I had somebody here on the text line said, did I hear you correctly say that the Missouri Amateur Golf Championship was played at a course in Kansas? Is that right? Yes.
And it's not the first time.
No, they've done this in the past. And, Scott Hovis was talking last week about it's a challenge now to get private country clubs, the old school courses in a lot of cases, to give up their course for a week. They just don't want to do it.
And you made a very cogent comment, and I hate to give you credit for that, but you made a cogent comment a short time ago about how the membership is reluctant to have things. How about the Corn Ferry? Is the membership at Highland Springs particularly annoyed by that? Yes, when the tournament was there, they were.
My understanding with the Highland thing, yes, they didn't like giving it up for a week. But I think the Highland thing was more a problem of the aftermath of the tournament, because I think, especially in some of those latter years, the tour was trying to, I guess, toughen up Highland Springs because it was just a breeding ground for birdies. Wide fairways, the rough was usually burned out by August.
29 and 30 under par.
Yeah, and their only defense, they thought, in a lot of cases, was to speed the greens up. Well, when you mow them down to speed the greens up, you also run the risk of burning them up. And I think that happened one too many times for the Highland Springs membership to where, I think that their chance to get out was that the tour wanted to move from August to June. Mm-hmm. And Highland has a pretty full schedule of member guest events, things like that in June. That was their out to say, yeah, we're not interested anymore. And that was it. And I get it. I mean, they pay a lot of money to be members out there, and they want a pristine course. And for the PGA Tour to come in and their officials and say, well, do this, do that, and then leave town and go somewhere else the next week, the aftermath wasn't really always great for the Highland people.
And it is a little pressure on the officials out there as well, although I think they probably became accustomed to all of that. Still, the membership, and I can understand why they would be. Well, or did we use a vacant lot out there for the parking lot for the media? And it was a pretty long walk.
It was hot in August, July or August. It's typical Missouri heat. So, speaking of heat, we're under the heat because it's time to leave.
It is, my goodness sake. We've already evaporated the time. Ned Reynolds.
Scott Purrier.
Thanks for being with us, folks, and we'll see you tomorrow right here on the starting lineup.
Oh, I almost jumped you. See ya.